It's like, how do you say this without coming across like the most up yourself, looking down at other people asshole in the fucking planet? Because I know that this is just like YouTube commenters, and it's not really you guys, or most people, but I think people really struggle sometimes to deal with a decently complex issue. Like, the really good example is Drakthir can be fun, Dragon Riding can be fun, Azure Strand can be a really nice zone, and that doesn't invalidate any criticism that any one of the influencery people have made about World of Warcraft in the last 10 years. Like, that's the thing. It's, or like, because perhaps we fucking ripped 9.1 to shreds because we thought it was really quite terribly designed. Apparently that now means we are locked into that opinion for all bits of Warcraft content.
Wobad.
Forever. And I think it gets you into a situation, like how many times I brought up the movie Nightcrawler, but it does get you into a situation where now the way to do well is to be Jake Gyllenhaal running around following ambulances to get gory stuff, the fucking gory shots of car crashes to sell to the local, to the local news. Like, now it's kind of turned into that, which I think is kind of interesting. And it definitely makes me think, like, if I swapped a lot of our titles and thumbnails over and we had the exact same content, but they were immediately 100 times more aggro, we would probably... I mean, honestly, it is taking the Cat Danny pill. If we took the cat... if we just took the Cat Danny pill, dude... Because, like, that's the thing. We actually go to, like, a lot of, like, Zach's reactions to stuff. It's, not ambulance chasing. It's not what maybe the boogeyman of Asmongold is in the heads of, say, some of the WoW devs who really hate him, or some of the people who really like WoW who really hate Asmongold. Zach, he actually has a significantly more balanced opinion in the whole thing. But certainly, you wouldn't necessarily always be able to tell that from the marketing, because ultimately, the losses that you incur from marketing, like, a lot more accurately to the content and a lot more accurately to what you think, it's like those losses are in a way too large. So it is quite interesting. It just shows us that. So actually, because here's the thing, I don't want to be a joke thief. I don't want to be a joke thief to you. But I was just kind of like, we were reacting to the office and just how some things we're doing today. And you said, it's not that they've poisoned the well. There's no water left in the well.
Yeah.
There's no water left to be poisoned. In a way. Like, basically, that's how badly Blizzard have it. And what's real fucking interesting, too, is they have been trying to win people back for 9 months now. Because you got 9.1.5, 9.2, but then, the thing with 9.2 is, they had so many stupid dramas that they didn't need to have.
For sure.
They didn't get with the program as radically as they could have, as early as they should have. That creation catalyst shouldn't have been week 8. All those, silly little quibbles. Because what happens is, there's like the level of effort and the level of salt that is required to like maintain the state of, fuck WoW, I am here to watch WoW content as a blood sport. It takes a tiny amount to maintain that. And it takes a lot to reverse it. So they still did manage to sprinkle in just enough to keep the watching WoW as a blood sport going for the longest time. And then they do the Drakthir, and the Drakthir end up being a miss. And then all of those things, like it's like memes as described by Dawkins. So, funny thing, memes, there's more to memes than sort of the modern context.
DNA of the soul.
Yeah. But like all of those things, I suppose, like those, I don't know what you call them, thought memes or whatever.
Yeah.
They spread, they stay, they self-propagate. And it's like a fire, It grows, and as it grows, it consumes more fuel, and it finds more fuel. So it's a very interesting situation. Frostler said, there's a pathological need for negativity with the new expansion. It's just a wish to no longer be disappointed. Yeah. It's that interesting thing. It's like the two sides of a coin. It's like a cynic is really, in many cases, actually quite an optimist. But it's like you're such an optimist. Yeah, you're such an optimist. You're consistently let down. That like turns you into a cynic. So it's like your optimism is the thing that makes you a cynic. Your ability to see the good side and the good like potential in everything is what makes you the cynic. So it's that thing on, being human in society is almost a fucking abusive relationship at this stage anyway. So you can understand why as time has went on, like, remember a cynic used to be something that people say, oh, sorry, I'm just a bit of a cynic. Now it's just, no, everyone's a cynic. The whole of Twitter is a cynic. The whole of everything's a cynic.
For sure.
And it's like, you can sort of see why. You can see how that got fed. And then with Warcraft, people, because it was consistently, like you put it right, Frost, there, it's like, the heart of that is people's wish to no longer be disappointed. But because they've been disappointed so much, it's almost like a coping mechanism. It's a safety behavior.
It's apathy. It's disassociation.
It's apathy and disassociation, or I think when it goes into something more of an active thought process, like the optimism to cynicism, it's more of a, this has burdened me so much, fuck it. I think that's what's happened.
Yeah. And I find it very hard to blame anyone who feels that way.
Well, that's the thing. How often has, the Preach Ian interviews where it's just get on cam and say, no, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, talk about the philosophy behind it all, but ultimately for what the people kind of want, we can kind of talk about philosophy for a very long time, but what matters is what people actually feel in the game. And the rub from most of those interviews in the Shadowlands era was, no, we actually are sticking to our guns. We think this is great. And even now, they'll still talk about, like, this is it's what frustrates me that Blizzard makes their life so much harder for themselves. They talk about thinking the Covenants were a success. And then you look into the words that Ian says. And the actual words of what he says are, they like how displaying the reward track worked. It meant that people knew what was coming and they knew how to progress and things like that. But obviously when people hear Covenants, they think of a very different kettle of fish. So now we keep on getting comments of people saying that Dragonflight has Covenants. I was like, no, it doesn't. But because you guys don't really have a handle on how to communicate with your audience, in a case where, here's the thing, it's like they're not going to be fair to you. And those are the base conditions that you need to align yourself toward. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the really challenging thing, especially if you are in what at least had always been seen as the top MMO.
Yeah, you have to fight the enemy you're going to fight. If you're training to box against a boxer, there's no point training to fight against like someone else entirely, because you'll just not fight you will not be prepared correctly. And that's the thing where it happens with these interviews, and sometimes it happens with PR. They're very much getting a little bit good at immediately addressing feedback, but they're still keeping up appearances to a degree. So it's like, I think they're kind of slightly improving, but it's still it's still the point of they really need to actually, I guess, deal with reality in a couple of ways. And I think the proof is in the actions, right? And their actions of dealing with reality is to put their heads down and grind through it, which I think is actually a reasonable enough way to go around it.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of people get out of problems, is going, well, I'm not strong enough to fight this problem head on, so I'll knock it back when I can and get to the point where I'm strong enough to fight it. I think Blizzard are maybe kind of trying to do that a little bit, but it is just like they're fighting such a losing battle that they've just, I guess the problem kept growing and they never solved it.